need you guys to go absolutely wild. Raise the roof for the cast of The Lost Boys! Mr. Billy Wirth! Come on! Mr. Alex Winter! Please give it up for the one and only Mr. Jason Patric! And David himself, Mr. Kiefer Sutherland! I think we can go one better than that. The cast of The Lost Boys! Yeah, that's alright, isn't it?
Thank you very much.
How are we doing today, guys? Are you okay?
Great, great.
So I'm going to keep this super loose and conversational. We've got a roving mic in the crowd for the audience questions. You guys had a good day?
Great day.
Good
Great
day.
day. I feel like I've met almost everybody here. So hi, and thank you for a really special day.
The Lost Boys is what, 35 years old now? 34. Does it feel like that much time has passed?
Not for me, no. It's the memories, certainly from myself, are still very vivid of making the film. We're all still good friends, so it certainly doesn't feel like it's that old. Again, just because the memories are so vivid.
You all look absolutely tremendous as well, I've got to say. Honestly, you look like you made better in the last 35 years than I have, so I'm just so happy.
Well, bless you.
Let's dive straight into talking about the film, and I'm going to focus on Michael and David, and the friendship/rivalry between yourself and Mr. Patric.
You mean the love story?
And the love story. You guys are still good friends all these years later?
Yes, yeah. I mean, the last project that we worked on together was we did a play on Broadway called That Championship Season, which was written by Jason's father and won the Pulitzer in 1971. And
Which I saw, and it was great.
Wow.
These two guys came and saw the play, and yeah, I think you could say we had a little bit of a rivalry. I think all of us. I was 17 or 18 years old. Jason was a year older than I was, but I think we were all healthily competitive, and it made it a lot of fun. One of the things that I really remember is the thing that gave me the most confidence when we were making the film was that Jason was a very serious actor, and he took it very seriously, and it gave me a confidence that the film was going to be rooted in some kind of reality, even though it's so unbelievably unrealistic.
As Jason said last night, you don't see a vampire for 40 minutes, 45 minutes in the film, and that the early settings of you guys being more like a gang really leads to when it does, when you do turn and you see the fans, it just sells it so well. I mean, everyone here still loves it. We watched it here last night, and for a film, like Jason, you said a film that people have seen 100 times, they were just silent and just absorbed. It was wonderful. I can see Alex at the end. I was going to ask a question about the relationship between, well, obviously not you, Jason, but you guys as a gang, as a pack of vampires, and how did that bond go offset as well as on?
We were friends. We were all friends. It's a hard thing to express to all of you how exciting it was for us at our age to have this kind of an opportunity, and we all wanted to do this for a living. It was still questionable whether that was going to happen, and this was a big step in that direction. So I think we were all, even though we were very young, we were aware that we were in the 0.0001% in our field, and that this was a great opportunity, and I think we treated
was with Marion at Warner Brothers, and just to be sitting across a table from Marion Darty freaked me out.
Yeah.
Because she was like, she had cast James Dean. But there was a feeling of the way Joel dealt with sets too, there was a feeling that you've been invited into a very special community and given a lot of trust. So that engendered a certain amount of respect for the process. However, we were playing vampires, and we were up all night, and we were young and rowdy, and so there was a unity amongst our gang, not separate from everyone else, but there was just even though our shooting schedule was kind of separate in a way.
I was never invited.
So that was also kind of a lovely bonding thing. Was we'd have blankets on our windows and we'd go to bed when the sun came up, and we'd get up when the sun went down, and we did that for the whole Santa Cruz shoot.
I've done it for 35 years.
And Kiefer still do. Well, some of us are still doing that.
For me, these guys were kind of seasoned actors, and it was my first real big film, and I didn't know that I wanted to be an actor until that day on the boardwalk on the motorcycles with the big 10K lights and just the energy of all the locals that came out, and I'm saying, this is what this is. This is what I want to do. But I really didn't know. I was sort of green, and I had a few lines, and that was okay with me. But just being around these guys and learning from them and just seeing them all these years later, this has been a ride of a lifetime. And I can't believe Manchester and all you guys are amazing, the best fans in the world, really.
Thank you.
And for you were obviously not isolated, but you were in a different set of characters in the film with yourself, Diane Wiest, and Corey Haim. And you guys had a bond yourselves separately, I suppose?
One of the things where so many of you come up to all of us and your parents who've passed this movie down to their kids, right? And I meet people who are married who used to watch this movie all the time. But the backbone of it is it's really a family story. Outsiders and families and people who want to be part of something. They're a gang, our family. So I spent a lot of time with Corey Haim. Let's give it up to him for a little bit. I spent a lot of time with him early on because I really wanted to believe, before we started filming, that we were brothers. I wanted, how they move, how they talk, how they goof with each other. And so I think that part was really the base. As Kiefer said earlier, there's a reality base to it. So if that really works, then you're going to believe the supernatural. And so for me, these guys did have a lot of fun. I was always a little stressed because I was trying to balance both these things. Because you got to remember, you guys know this movie the way it is now, but every day we were filming it, we were doing things that had never been done before. So Urban says, oh yeah, this is integral. We were creating things and rewriting things every day, and experimenting with makeup, experimenting with effects. So all these things sort of came together. So I was a little isolated, but I was lucky because I got to work with everyone in that way. Yeah.
But that dynamic also helped that we weren't really close back then because you were the new kid in the group, and it sort of, we never really became great friends until we started doing these things. And I love Jason, and I love his family, but back then I just remember I didn't really interact with him too much.
Not at all, no.
So that tension was there as well, I think.
Though I will say that the communal aspect, everyone really respected Joel and his vision, and the vision changed a few times. I remember going to early hair and makeup tests, thinking the movie was one thing and going, oh, wait a minute, where's it going? And not being quite sure where it was going, trusting him because he was Joel and you trusted Joel. But I just remember getting to Santa Cruz the first day and they were shooting that giant beach scene with Tim all oiled up and the fires in the barrels, and I thought, oh, this is what this movie is, But there was a kind of communal aspect. I remember, because I remember, Kiefer, you had pushed, like one of my favorite scenes is the bonfire scene where we kill the surfer guys. And I remember you really pushing for going a little extra on the violence to up the ante of how intense we were as vampires. Do I remember that correctly?
Yes, no, you do. There's not a lot of opportunities one gets to bite the back of someone's head off. So, you want to kind of lean into that as much as you can if you get the shot. And so much fun to do. I mean, there were scenes that were complicated and tricky as an actor to kind of get around. But when I think of my favorite moments, was literally biting that bald guy's head off, and just the amazing amount of blood that kind of went everywhere, and it was thrilling and exciting, and so yeah, and we were given room by Joel Schumacher to do things like that and kind of lean into those moments. And so yeah, it's an incredibly, the whole experience is just one giant fond memory. So, and the fact that I get to have that experience because of all of you 35 years later, thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts.
Just before we take it to the audience, you both mentioned Joel Schumacher there, who's sadly no longer with us. One of my favourite directors, and you worked with Joel on a couple more projects.
I worked with him on, I think, 4 or 5. We did A Time to Kill, we did Phone Booth, we did Flatliners, we did, yeah, so Joel and I worked our whole lives together. Yeah.
Amazing filmmaker, and obviously your working relationship with him brought out some incredible movies. Flatliners is a favourite of mine.
Oh, thank you very much.
And A Time to Kill is one of the most powerful films I've ever seen in my life. And you're not very nice in that film at all. It's a testament to you because you are lovely.
Cheers, thank you.
We're going to go straight to the audience. Hello.
Hello, I'm over here. I'm so sorry, this is, you just talked about all these beautiful things, and I'm about to ask a very, very silly question. So obviously with remakes becoming more common and stuff like that, I think the Muppets do the best kind of remakes. So I was wondering if you guys were to recast yourselves in The Lost Boys as Muppets, which Muppet? Kiefer's looking at me like, what the fuck? So sorry.
I'm trying to remember more than one Muppet's name. All I've got is Elmo.
I would love to see that.
What's the one that plays the drums?
Animal. Yes. Absolutely.
There, that's who I would cast as David.
Perfect.
I can't believe you asked my next question. That's unbelievable.
So sorry.
It's easier to figure out who we are as gremlins.
Oh, I mean, I'll take that too. That's perfect.
Kiefer's definitely that mohawk gremlin.
Should I just say puppets in general? I don't know.
I am and always will be Snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
I love that.
We're gonna
And Billy's like, no, I'm not answering the question. That's fine. It's fine. Thank you.
So moving on from the Muppets. Music was such a huge part of The Lost Boys. When was your when did you first hear the soundtrack? G-Tom, Max Powerful, Cry Little Sister, it's like the heartbeat of the movie. Did you hear that during the filmmaking, or was that all done in post? Was that came afterwards?
My experience and memory was that it came in post.
Yeah.
I think the Tim Capella song we heard, because they were using it as playback on the day that they shot that, but all of the other stuff, whether it was, People Are Strange or Cry Little Sister, all of that stuff I heard for the first time when the movie came out.
It's a very thumping. It just really sets the tone for a vampire film.
Well, it's also one of the first soundtracks, outside of a film like Grease or Saturday Night Fever, that even came out on vinyl and CD. So it was a very powerful, integral part of the film. And I think Joel Schumacher, as a filmmaker, was a master of being able to take wardrobe and makeup and music and create a sensibility. And so all of those things became almost self-defining characters in themselves. And it was just a real testament to how forward he was as a director at that time.
And it wasn't a Titanic budget, like it was a healthy budget, but I remember that Joel was constantly, battling with the studio to get things that he wanted or needed for the film, and Richard Donner would be battling with them because they were really taking a gamble on this idiosyncratic vision. And I remember Joel telling us like, oh, I'm trying to get an In Excess song, I'm trying to get it. He was so excited about what he was trying to do, but everything was a fight, because just making movies is a fight, no matter what it is. But I do remember how gleeful he was at like going out and trying to lure all of these artists in.
It was a great soundtrack for the time. It was very contemporary. It was
It's an amazing
brilliant
soundtrack.
band.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to a friend last night just about the movie. He's a big fan of the film. film, he said not only did it reset and reinvent the vampire genre, it kind of began the new horror genre with Scream and the kids in the film and different, a whole new mix of comedy and horror. I think it was really
It was very ahead of its time. I mean, you can see, I was saying to Jason last night, you can see bits of the Lost Boys that have been stolen by stuff like Stranger Things, like the brother dynamic, the kids on the bikes, the banging soundtracks, very, very influential. We've got a question right at the back. Hello.
Hi. So this is to all of the Lost Boys really, but Kiefer, you've played a villain quite a few times. So I wanted to know what draws you all to being a villain, and is it more fun than playing the good guy? Like, what is it about being a villain that attracts you to the role?
It's so much of it is not really in your control. You get hired for the job that the director wants you to play, or that's suggested by the casting director. And I've never gone after a role per se. My interest is always in the story, in the overall story, and which part of being able to tell that story can I work at? And those decisions aren't always mine. A Time to Kill and films like Eye for an Eye, those were the hardest films I've ever had to make because those characters were kind of the worst of people. But I also felt in A Time to Kill, if you were going to make a film about racism and you weren't going to represent racism for the ugliness that it really is, then you're not servicing the story. And so you lean into a part like that. It doesn't make you very many friends for the next year. I remember after Eye for an Eye came out, there's a pizza chain in the United States called Chuck E. Cheese. And I was taking my daughter there to grab a pizza, and it's got huge playgrounds for kids and everything like that. Eye for an Eye had been out for maybe a week, and I walked in with my daughter, and within 15 minutes, all the other families had left. And my daughter thought I'd rented the place out for her, so it worked out, but it does, you do pay a consequence for it. But the truth is, all of those characters are interesting to play, but they're also absolutely integral to the success of telling a story like that. So, it's not something I think about a lot, till usually it's too late.
Just trying to see where our next question is. Right all the way at the back. Hello.
Hello, sorry about that. I hope you can hear me all right. It's a pleasure to have you all here, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
My question kind of goes back to the first. However, if it was to happen, what would your thoughts be on that?
I think anybody who would want to remake a film like Lost Boys, that's a compliment, right? So I would take it as that. And you wish them the best. I think it was a remarkable story. It certainly didn't start out the way it ended. All of the characters, for instance, the characters of David and Michael, all of our characters were written originally much, much younger. They were to be played by 11, 12, 13-year-olds, and then Joel changed that. So, I think if someone were to be interested in to try and do a remake or a version of this, I would take it as a compliment and hope that they do a really good job with it.
Yeah, I agree. Reimagining to me is a good way to go. I was in a film called The Body Snatchers, and the original one was a black and white one in the 50s. And I think the one I did with Abel Ferrara was really good, and the other ones are good. And if you can do it and do it well, then you have two good movies, and maybe the new one brings in other people to go back to see the original, but it doesn't seem like we need that help. But I agree with you.
There's a lot of understandable concern about things being rebooted that are beloved, but I think that usually if the film is great, it doesn't, to Billy's point, it doesn't erase the prior movie, they just sit side by side. I come from theater, I think all of us do, where that's the whole point of production, is that it gets reimagined and reimagined and reimagined forever, and that's okay. John Carpenter's The Thing is, probably the greatest part
almost lent itself to where vampires could really live. The town folk were surfers, hippies, they were amazing people, artists, craftspeople, antique shops. So I felt the atmosphere there for real was almost, yes, you could believe vampires live. Now I've been lucky enough to work in the industry as a special effects makeup artist, and I just wanted to hear from all of you, what did you think of the beautiful, amazing makeup effects, prosthetics by Greg Cannon?
Well, and V. Neal, you can't forget her. She was absolutely intrinsic to the design. Greg at that time was having a very difficult time joining the union, so we worked out of his basement. But to your point about Santa Cruz was just an extraordinary place. And to give you an example, we had 2 trucks full of wardrobe that were for all the sequences where the Ferris wheel and on the boardwalk and everything, and we had punk rock clothes and crazy clothes and just, again, 2 full 18-wheel semi-trucks full of clothes. We ordered about 500 extras from Santa Cruz. They were locals, they came with their own clothes, and we did not dress a single person. These people were insane. And they were. And there was a kind of freedom in that town and with those people that was pretty extraordinary. With regards to the makeup, I'm only going to speak for myself. I was too young to know how lucky I was to have been able to work with V. Neal and Greg. The fact that that makeup was so kind of cutting edge and iconic and really was going to shape the future of prosthetic makeup for at least a decade. I kind of took it for granted. I do remember Jason and I would sometimes kind of want to go out for lunch, but we couldn't take the makeup off, so we would go to dinner in the full vampire makeup while we were shooting.
I went to Ralph's with V in my makeup.
Yeah, and the looks in the car were pretty extraordinary. But I think that would certainly be one of the moments that I was just kind of too young to really fully appreciate the depth of talent. And I think between V and Greg, they've won 9 or 10 Academy Awards since that film. So they were very, very special.
We've got time for a couple more questions, and there's one more at the back. Hello.
Hi, I love you all so much. This question's mainly for Alex. What was Brooke like as a person? Like, how do you think it is him as a person made it easier for Marko and Paul's relationship in the film?
Well, yeah, we could speak to that. I mean, Billy can sure as heck speak to that too. Brooke was a really dear friend. I played bass guitar, and he and I would write songs together. That's how I let off steam. I did the same thing with Bill and Ted. With Keanu plays bass, so it was really lame. We would just go home after shooting and we both play bass all night, which is not a great idea. Which is why you don't see a lot of bands with 2 bass players. But Brooke played keyboards and sang, and was a really good songwriter. So I would go back to his apartment, and we would write songs and play, and we did that a lot. He was an incredibly sweet guy. We were very young, and we were the vampire gang was pretty bonded. So we all got pretty damn close. And to Kiefer's point, Santa Cruz had this kind of magic spell, and they embraced us because we were weird, and we were the weirdest end of that cast because we were up all night. We were out at night every night, and they got used to this nocturnal, roving band of weird actor guys. And so Brooke was just a very close part of that experience for me, which the weird thing about making movies is you're only 19 once, right? So even though it was this big movie, that was the big summer for me of being 19 and 20. So that's my youth. That's a huge memory. As Kiefer said, it's vivid. It's a huge memory of my youth. And Brooke was a really big part of my youth. So
me as well.
Yeah, you guys were super tight.
What happened with Brooke and me is we had the same agents, and I was based in New York. I grew up in New York, and Brooke is a Philly boy, but he was out in California with our agent out there, and when I flew out to do this film, Brooke picked me up at the airport, and I had never met him, but I had heard about him, and he he became my best friend, and this was a big deal being in a big studio film, and I was kind of scared, but he took me up on the top of Mulholland, he showed me LA. I didn't realize he was already working, he was connecting with me. I just was just scared and new to Hollywood, but he really took me in, we connected, bonded, became friends for life, and he really helped me just feel that chemistry that shows on screen, I think, and I just love Brooke, miss him, miss Corey. He was a very special guy. I know a lot of you guys met him along the way, in these cons.
Joel Schumacher's casting did not miss, right? The guy had an impeccable eye. He knew how to build a community. So the film was very much a community.
Where are we? Still at the back?
Okay, so you regularly spoken about the close bond you have with each other. Was there anything behind the scenes or between scenes that you'd kind of pick on each other over, in a brotherly way?
Did you pick on each other or mess around with each other between scenes?
We had fun with each other, yeah. I think early on there was Jason had a birthday and they brought a cake out with a picture of him, and I cut it face in half and ate it. And that kind of set the tone for us for the next few months.
Yeah. We've got a question down the front. Hello.
Seriously, thank you for being here. If you could pick anyone in the business today to play your characters in The Lost Boys, who would you pick?
If they could pick anyone else to play them?
Yes, in a remake today.
So she wants you to recast yourselves in The Lost Boys, and then how can you recast perfection?
Exactly.
I would pick 4 Timothy Chalamets.
The truth is, I don't know enough of the younger actors to kind of answer that question fairly. I certainly, and I've always believed this, that regardless of whatever I've done in a film, there's a level of quality within the acting community that's extraordinary, and so I don't think one actor is the only right choice for one part. And so I'm going to think about your question this evening, and I'm going to start looking up some of the younger actors, and maybe I'll have an answer for you by tomorrow.
We got another question. Tim's in a different postcode, right at the back over there. Hello.
Hello, how are you? My question is, did you ever, when you finished production on The Lost Boys, I don't want to say stole, but acquire any costumes or props when you finished production that you still got today?
What did you steal from the set?
I was given. I took a leather jacket. I took the glasses, and I stupidly gave them both away. All gone.
Yeah, underneath the black trench coat that I wore was a black vest, leather vest. That was really cool. I took that, and I think I took the boots.
Yeah, I got the jacket, I got my leather jacket, which I still have hanging in my closet. And then I had another one that went missing from my ex-girlfriend, but recently she found out her sister has it, so I hope to get that one back. And I got the ring, the eyeball ring, and I got the necklace.
Good luck on that jacket.
Yeah.
That's coming back.
Susie Becker, who was also a genius, gave me my jacket, which I had until it rotted, because it was literally made out of multiple patches. And I think it was all I ended up taking, was the jacket. But there's a few of them out there from the Stone folks.
We've probably got got time for like one more question, so I'm going to get one in, and then Carrie can ask you a question. What is your favourite piece of Lost Boys merchandise that you've seen? Because I've seen there's an action figure of you coming out soon that is like so like, realistic, 6th scale.
Yeah.
What is your favourite piece of Lost Boys merch that you've been given, or you've got, or you've seen?
What do they call the ones, the
Funko Pops.
ones?
The Funko Pops.
Yeah. I think they're fun.
That's quite cool, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're fun.
I like the little cute little Legos, but they didn't make a Funko Pop of me yet, so.
I like the custom art. I get sent like, I mean, even like here, I'll see tattoos that someone has done of us, or someone will send me custom art. I get a lot of custom art of the Lost Boys, and some of it's absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
So just like how it inspires people to make stuff is really amazing.
I mean, what Alex said, and Alex is a filmmaker. Also, you should see his films. Let's give it up to Alex. It's a great documentary. But when you come to places like this, and I say it, I probably said it to some of you, I have never seen a movie with so many alternative posters in my life. And by the way, that's coming from a movie that has one of the classic posters of all time. And like Alex said, the movie inspires people and in a creative way, in the same way that, look, I'm a dad. Sometimes you put on a movie to occupy your kids so you can either get some sleep or do some work. But this is a movie that parents actively share with their kids. They want to share it because there's an emotional connection. And so the creativity that we all did at the time that was new and that no one had done, almost 40 years later, is inspiring young artists to say, let me interpret this as well. And that's a wonderful thing, and it goes to all of your own connections here.
The Japanese poster that came with the 4K re-release is absolutely banging. That's a really good one. Hello.
Hi, my name is Lily, and this is specifically for Kiefer. I'd like to ask what it was like being the president on Designated Survivor.
What was it like being the president on Designated Survivor?
Well, I have to tell you, when I took the job, and in the first 3 months of shooting, I could not have forecasted the lunacy that was going to become the American political system. So I was very excited because I thought our show was going to be so cutting edge, and then when we kind of got outdone by reality, I was like, oh shit. But it was an amazing opportunity because I think one of the things that I loved about that character was that what was going to happen if you led by compassion, and you were not concerned about becoming reelected, but you were concerned about helping people and trying to make the country a better place, and having it just be that simple. Even though that sounds very naive, it was wonderful to play a character that was that hopeful and naive, and so it was a really refreshing part to play. It was, you know, there's moments when you are working as an actor in a set of the Oval Office. It's still very inspiring how powerful that room is. So yeah, it was an exciting job. I love the cast on that show, yeah, I really enjoyed the 3 years that I got to make it. Thank you.
I'm gonna end with one final question. If you could describe your feelings of the Lost Boys in one word, what would that word be?
Mine was exciting. I mean, they've got all the words on the poster: exciting, thrilling, this, that, and the other. I mean, it's they're there for a reason. But mine was just, I was excited the entire time.
Gratitude.
Alex?
Innovative.
Billy?
Inspiring, eternal.
I'm gonna say family, because I think that's what you guys have become over the years. Please give it up one